This is Chick2Chick Uncut, raw and unfiltered.
The many reasons why women remain single. There are so many reasons, and we're going to get to that. But first, I want to be clear about something. This podcast is not about male bashing. On the contrary, it's about a look inside the mature female brain. And the reason why I say that word mature is because a woman's brain in her 50s, 60s, 70s is so incredibly different than when we're in our 20s, 30s, 40s. Everything has changed about us. What we want has changed. What we need has changed. Our focus has changed. What we think is important has changed. And this is huge. We are so much more confident now, which means we are no longer willing to tolerate nonsense. So guys, view this podcast as more of an education so you understand how the mature female brain works. It's also a way to connect with other women who might be in a similar situation. Maybe you're single as well and you're wondering, hey, what's wrong with me? There is absolutely nothing wrong with you. My guest today is Susan Nichols, very good friend of mine. We've been friends for about 20 years. Susan, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
The reason why I wanted you to come on this podcast is because we have so much in common. We're the same age, which we don't need to talk about. We both have been married, divorced, and we both have been single for a very long time. So before we get into the meat and potatoes and nitty gritty here, tell us about yourself, both professionally and personally. Give us the details.
Sure. So professionally, I'm a biotech executive. I've had my own company now for about 5 years. Love what I do. Get to travel internationally and work with just amazing science and amazing people. Personally, I moved to North Carolina from central Pennsylvania, 13 years ago now, to be closer to my son and grandson. And absolutely love not having to have a snow shovel.
Okay, but what about you were married for how long? You have 2 kids. You've been divorced. You divorced when and how long have you been single?
Oh, let me wrap that all up in a nice way. So I've been single now for 17 years. And I feel like I've been raising kids forever. And I have a 94-year-old mother. So I have a grandson, I have children, I have my mother. So nice little sandwich in there.
You have a lot.
And yes, and I've had some fabulous relationships, long-term relationships. I've been engaged, and right now I'm choosing to be single.
Choosing to be single. You said 17 years. I'm going to do you one better. I've been single for 24 years. And you said something. You choose to be single. And I think that people need to understand this is a choice. I'm choosing this. And you said you chose to be single. Why do you choose to stay single?
I'm busy. I have a busy life. I have a full life. And I'm not saying if I met someone tomorrow that couldn't change. It could absolutely change. But right here and now, I haven't met anyone whose company I enjoy and I want to spend time with. So I choose not to be in that hurried rush. Oh my gosh, I have to meet someone. I choose my career, I choose my children, I choose my friends, until a point in time comes that I look at another choice and it's something I want to pursue.
And don't you find dating sometimes is just exhausting? I find it to be exhausting. And I think because I'm in the same situation, I've got a lot going on over here. Very, very busy life. And I feel like sometimes I need to be in the right headspace to take on this task of dating because I think it's a lot. How about for you?
Yes, it is a lot. And I don't think it's that either one of us wouldn't make the time commitment, and it's not even finding room. We have room. We just fill it with friends and trips and vacations and other things. And at this point in time, I don't want to date for the sport of dating. I just don't feel like some people, we had this conversation earlier.
Yeah.
The man that told me he's been on 120 first dates. And then I walked away and thought about it. And my first thought is, am I 120 or am I 121?
And I would have said, is he going to go for 122? Because I'm out of here. When I hear that kind of stuff, I'm like, bye, I'm out of here.
He has energy and optimism, and I respect that.
Okay, energy and optimism. Okay. Well, I think that you said something that's so important. We have full lives, we have careers, we have children. You're caring for an elderly mother. I'm taking care of my elderly mother. There is so much stuff going on. And, for me, if this person who I am dating or not dating, if you're not bringing me peace in my life, because I'm at this point that I just need peace. We have weathered the storm, have we not? We have weathered the storm of life. We've been through it all. We've been married, divorced, raising our kids on our own, trying to work, taking care of homes and everything else that comes along. We've been through the storm, and I am just seeking peace. And if you are going to bring chaos into my life and disrupt my life and bring me anxiety, you need to go. Do you feel that way too?
Yes, I think we all have to work on ourselves. We all have to keep that sense of peace and calm in our lives because things come up. We have events every day. We have chaos. Our mothers are sick. Something's going on with the kids. And there's all these little things. But at the core, I find that being with somebody who also values that peace and just deals with whatever situation is there without it needing to be a thing.
Yeah. And we don't really want anything, and we don't really need anything. We just don't need to bring in chaos into our lives. Something else that I think that we change when we're younger, when a guy says something, we hang on to every word. And I think as we age, your words are just blah, blah, blah. You're like the teacher from Charlie Brown, wah, 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 right? I'm watching what you're doing. And you might say one thing, but I pay attention to actions. And if your actions are not supporting your words, another reason why we choose to remain single. How does that resonate for you?
Well, for me, it goes the other way too, right? We have to keep our word, and our actions and our words have to match, because if they don't, we sense it right away. We sense it in anyone, whether we're in a relationship of a romantic kind or any kind of relationship. That disconnect really is not a foundation for any type of loving relationship.
Well, you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk.
Yes.
Right?
And yes. And
yes.
We hold us accountable too. I don't mind walking the walk.
I don't mind walking the walk either. But if somebody's saying one thing and they're doing something completely, again, it's a disruption to my life. You're causing chaos. You're causing uncertainty. And I we just don't need it. And I just am so much more confident at this age than I was when I was in my 20s. And gosh, I wish I had that confidence. How about you?
Oh, I would love to have the confidence I have now in my 20s. I would have made so many different decisions. And isn't that the beauty? At this point in time, I hope we all know ourselves, know what brings us joy, what brings us peace, and where we step out of that feeling of peace, and what relationships work, and how a good indicator is how we show up in a relationship, because we're reactive. He's reactive. So now you have two people who are reactive. So the way we show up in relationships has to be compatible.
Yes. And the other thing, too, is I think that at this age, when we have this confidence, when we have careers, when we are financially independent, when we have weathered the storm, we're not willing to settle anymore. I think when we're younger, we're in that mindset, oh my God, we went to college, we have a job, we need to get married, we need to have kids. I don't need any of that anymore. And settling is not an option. How does that play in your brain?
No, I'm happy with my life. Do I need to say anything else? No. I don't think anyone should settle. We should all have the relationships. I'll go back. You say, does it bring me peace? I say, does it bring me joy? Does it bring me joy?
Peace and joy. I think it goes hand in hand. I think the two of these things go hand in hand. But when we're younger, I think we go, he really loves me. And you know what? We'll get married and things are going to get better and he's going to change. At this point, we're like...
And, on the other side of that is some man thinking, oh, she's got some quirks and we don't always connect, but she's going to change.
Guess what? This podcast isn't about what men want. It's about us. What we want. We'll deal with them in some other podcast. I don't care what they want.
Well, everybody really wants to be loved, adored, accepted, valued, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to feel loved. And I think that we need, at this point in our lives, when you're with somebody, I use the word, I need to feel safe. I need to feel safe. And when I say that, I don't just mean, I need to trust you and I need to feel safe. And trust isn't just about, whether you're out with somebody else or, that kind of stuff. There's so much more to that word of trust. Do I trust you to show up? Do I trust you to be there when the going gets tough? Do I trust you, and I know this resonates with you, to have my back? Because when a woman trusts and she can feel safe, she lets her guard down.
I agree.
How does that resonate with you?
I agree 100%, because safety means different things to different women. For me, being safe can be something small, like being at a work function with a date and I forget somebody's name. And the man I will love to the moon and back is the man that sticks his hand out and introduces himself at the exact second he realizes, oh boy, she forgot that person's name. And it can be the little things like that and the big things. My mom is in the hospital and you sit there with me while we wait for the doctor. That's a big thing. And all those things build that feeling of safety.
Feeling of safety, feeling of trust, feeling like you have my back. And again, at this point in our lives, if we don't feel those things and we don't see this other person providing that, it's easier just to remain single, right? It's just easier. And why do I want to be with somebody who doesn't have my back? Because, I know men need to be needed. I know that. I get that. But at this point in our lives, we don't really need anything, do we? We have jobs. We have a home. We have careers. We have children. We have our families. We don't need that person. We want that person. And for me, right. I would think that they would be like, oh, wow, she doesn't need me. She wants me.
That's a different choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
The needing somebody feels constrictive. the wanting something feels happy.
Yeah. 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 And that's another way that our brain changes. And I think that sometimes men don't quite understand where we are, that we don't need you. Don't feel bad, but we want you. And
Yes.
I think that's so much better. You said something earlier. You said that you were engaged. And I remember when you were engaged to some guy. I don't even remember his name. And who cares what his name is? But you didn't end up marrying him. Why didn't you marry him?
I think that the reason we originally were together, and we were together for, I think, around 4.5 years. And when we first came together, I needed him. I did. And as our relationship matured and I matured, and I think he needed me too, that we just pulled apart. I don't think that we needed each other in the same way. And the things that would keep us compatible for life, they just weren't there. And we're still friends to this day. It's just we didn't maintain that feeling of connectivity.
Did you feel that he had your back?
Ooh. In a lot of ways, he did. Mm-hmm. In a lot of ways, he would always show up. There were also ways, just core values, that I didn't feel that we aligned. And I didn't feel that he had my back on those core values.
And perhaps you didn't feel like he was going to be a lifelong partner that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
No, I just could see the separation and entering into marriage while you're already pulling apart and can't seem to be able to get that connection back is not a recipe for a successful marriage. It's just a recipe for heartache for everyone.
And thank goodness that you had the vision and the insight and the wherewithal to say, I don't need to do this. I don't need this. And you spared yourself a lot of grief and a lot of heartache. You know, I struggle with this too a lot. I hear this all the time that men want beautiful, intelligent, independent women. And I don't necessarily know that they know how to deal with a beautiful, intelligent, strong, independent woman who has their own career like you. I bet men have a hard time handling you and dealing with you.
Oh, no, I know where you're going with this. You're going to the man that told me that I was a handful. And
did I say that?
I will never forget that. He looked me square in the eye and he said, "You are a handful." And I told him that is why God gave him 2 hands. He's got one empty. What's he complaining about?
And what happened after that, after you told him he has 2 hands? What did he do?
Not much.
But I think it takes a really, really secure guy to deal with what they claim they want, and then they have it, and I don't think they know what to do with somebody like you. Do you agree with that?
I think some do, and I think others, no, they may not have had that role model. They may not have had a mother that worked outside the home and in a career that demanded a lot of time and energy. I don't think a lot of people have that experience.
Yeah. And they claim they want it, and then they get it, and I don't think they know what to do with it, even with their 2 hands. I think it's a lot for them to deal with.
It's a choice, right?
Yeah.
You can hang in there and you can learn what to do with it, or you can just exit and say, "No, it's too much."
Yeah. Well, speak of exiting, I think that men don't really understand that at this age, when a woman decides to leave a relationship, she's not necessarily leaving for another guy.
No,
She's leaving.
rarely.
No, in most cases, we're not. We're not leaving because we met somebody else. We're leaving because we're at this point of exasperation. We've told you this isn't working, that's not working, and we're recognizing and we see that things just aren't going to change. This is too much energy. It's too much work. It's exhausting. And we are valuing ourselves and our peace too much. And that's why we walk away. We don't leave because we dislike you. We don't leave because we think you're a bad person. We've just like, this is just too much work. It's too much energy. And I want my peace and quiet back. Do you get into that situation as well? I've done that.
I think as women our age, we just go through phases. And if a relationship shows up and it's taking a lot of work and it's, throwing us off balance, and we have a lot of other things in our lives, we don't always have the emotional bandwidth to have that in addition to everything else. And it doesn't mean anyone's good or bad. It just means situationally, it's not a good time.
Well, and that's a good point too. Every relationship that ends, and I've learned that, when you're younger, you break up and I can't stand you and blah, 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 right? Go pound salt, go eat dirt and you're all. And now I'm at this point, like, you know what? I'm a good person. You're a good person. We're just not good together. We can still be friends and it's okay. We don't have to have all this animosity all the time.
No.
Yeah.
And some other woman will adore this man. So throw him back into the dating pool.
You're just not the person to adore that man. And it's okay.
Yes,
Well,
it's okay.
Speaking,
Somewhere out there is a woman who will.
Somebody out there will.
To Mel Robbins, right? Let them.
Let them. Let them, and then let me, right? That's the second part of it. Let them, and then let me.
Yes.
You brought up going back into the dating pool, and I really just have an issue with all of these dating gurus who say, date in abundance, date several people at the same time, date. And I disagree with that, and I use that analogy, when I go into a furniture store, and I see all of these couches and I need one couch and there's so many choices. It's so many things it's overwhelming to me. I can't even focus when there's too many choices. Now you give me 3 couches and I go, oh, okay, I can pick one. I'm not into this whole dating and abundance thing. I think it clouds your judgment. How do you handle that? And do you disagree with all these gurus?
That's sport dating. These men can't even keep your name straight and who they saw last week. And yes, that's the man with 120 dates, right? And I'll tell you one thing. He was not, that was not working for him.
Clearly not if he's at 120 some dates. Something's not working and the light bulb's not going off going, dude, what are you doing? He didn't get it?
But he prescribed to that more the better. And hey, look, I don't know where you find more right now. The dating pool when you were 20 was everyone. The dating pool now is, what did that comedian say? What's left?
Yeah, not a lot to pick from. What about those guys who say mean things about their exes?
Oh, that is just...
Or say mean things about their ex-wives or ex-girlfriends. No. I personally, I'm not into that. I don't do that with my ex. I don't. And so when a guy does that with you, how do you react to that?
Well, if they say it about someone else, eventually they're going to say it about you. So you don't need a crystal ball to know how that's going to turn out, right?
Yeah, it's not a good look and it's not a good thing to do. And again, we're just going over all of these reasons, reason
But it's
after
unkind.
reason.
It's just unkind.
It isn't. You're absolutely right. It is not kind. And, that's their version of the story, too.
Let's call her.
That's their version of the story. But all of these things that we're talking about, I think are important because, again, it's why we have chosen to remain single. All of these things that come up that maybe we were willing to tolerate or maybe we are willing to overlook when we're younger. At this age, not so much, because we don't have to. And it's a choice. It's a choice for us to be in this situation. The other thing, too, that I think that we come to this understanding that love doesn't always have to come from an intimate partner, right? I think as we get older, we realize that we can get our love from so many different places. We get our love from our kids. We get our love from our pets. Women also tend to have tribes of women. We have our tribe, and I think guys don't have that as readily available, that we're able to go on trips and we're able to do things together and we're able to get love from our friends. And I think that changes too, that we don't necessarily have this burning desire to have a partner. Would you agree with that as well? You better agree with everything I say, Susan, or we're through.
But it's that belonging, right? People inherently want to belong.
Yep.
And that can be outside a romantic relationship too. We want to belong with our family. We fill our time with our children and grandchildren and our pets, as you said. And most of us have pretty large tribes of girlfriends that give us that connectivity and love.
Well, and again, so we don't seek it, or we're not willing to settle, or we're not willing to tolerate, or we're not willing to say, okay, well, it'll eventually get better, because we've also come to the realization that people don't change, and there's nothing wrong with that, right?
And also it comes from, am I empty? And we're not. We have the connectivity, we have the love. So we're not seeking from a place that we need to fill this.
And you said before too, like the dating pool, that it's smaller and smaller, statistically, and I don't quote me on this, but 60% of mature women are single versus 30% of men in that same demographic. So we really don't have a lot to choose from, to your point that there aren't that many single guys out there. And the ones that are single, again, for me, it comes down to, do you make me feel safe? Can I trust you? Are you going to be accountable? Are you going to be responsible? And if that's not there, there's so many other things. We just don't need to tolerate it anymore. And are you getting pickier as you get older too?
Sometimes I think, would I rather spend the evening home with my dogs, or would I rather get dressed and go on a date?
Well, and what saying I have for that is, I've gotten to this point where I go, are you hair and makeup worthy?
Yes, it's a thing.
It is a whole thing, because it's a whole process to fix your hair and to put on your makeup. Your dog doesn't care, right? The dog doesn't care if you haven't showered for 2 weeks, if you didn't fix your hair, if you're the dog loves you unconditionally. But you sit there and go, are you hair and makeup worthy? Do I really want to go through this? And sometimes I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And we don't have to anymore. Are you completely content sitting at home with your dog, watching Netflix or whatever you're watching?
Sadly, most times.
Sadly, most times. Tell us about your absolute worst date. Make us laugh.
Oh, Golly.
Or have there been so many of them you can't even pinpoint one?
I had a man show up chewing bubble gum, blowing bubbles.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And
what did you do with that?
Stared in fascination. It fascinated me. I had so many thoughts in my head. Yes, that's one. And another one is, again, I was introduced to a man, and I have never had so many rapid fire questions. I no sooner sat down for dinner, and he wanted to know how long I was married, how long I was divorced, how many children I have, how many children are on my payroll, am I ready to retire? Is my house paid off? What's my financial situation? It was, yeah, beyond offensive.
Were you on a date or a job interview?
Yes, right?
What did you do? What did you say?
I just stood up and I just said, I can't do this. I said, I just can't do this. I said, no, I just can't do this.
And you left. You left.
And I left. I mean, it was a 10-minute it felt like an attack. It was really not a very pleasant feeling. And to what end? So I left, and of course I immediately called a girlfriend from the car and said,
but see, there you had the confidence to do something like that, because your younger self would have sat there and said, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Do I answer him? What do I do? And now you're just like,
I couldn't possibly envision myself being able to sit through an hour of that. I just couldn't.
Yeah, it would have been torture, and it's not really appropriate to do that. So as we wrap up this podcast, what are some parting thoughts? And what do you want people to know to understand why so many of us have chosen to remain single?
People say to me sometimes, oh, you're single. It's like, I don't even know what that means. Sometimes it's, oh, you're single, like it's a disease state. and it's okay. It's just a choice. You can make another choice the next day. And there's nothing wrong with being single. And there's nothing wrong with knowing what works for you and your boundaries and what you need to really relax and be in that loving relationship.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. And you know, what really had bothered me is that, you know, recently Diane Keaton passed away. And every single story, I think she was 79 or 80 years old, every single story, it had to draw attention to the fact she's never been married, but she adopted 2 kids. She's never been married, but like, why does it matter? Why does it matter?
We just had this mad, passionate, loving relationship in the background that no one knew about.
But why does that matter? Why do we have to draw attention to that? Why does that have to be mentioned in every single article that I read about her, as though she was less than, or her value was based on whether she was married? And she wasn't married. Well, why do we look at things that way?
Maybe she just got the confidence we've gotten at this age earlier.
Yes, maybe she got something that we didn't get.
And made choices according to her value system.
Well, it's interesting because every article made mention of that. And there is so much more to us and so much more to life, that our value is not necessarily based on whether we have an intimate partner in our lives. We value who we are. We value where we are in our lives. And we value our friendships. Like, you're part of my tribe. I'm in your tribe. Am I still in your tribe now that you've moved away from me?
Of course. There's always room to move.
There's always room. Well, Susan, I loved having you on the podcast. It was a lot of fun. And again,
Thank you.
I hope that we just opened up some eyes. Again, this wasn't about male bashing, which we didn't bash men at all here. But I do think they don't understand that our brains change so much and we're just in a different place. What are your final words?
Find your peace. Find your joy and live in it, single or coupled. Just at this stage of life, just do whatever brings you joy.
I couldn't agree with you more. Susan, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Flora.
Thank you. So many things that we talked about here. But again, guys, this is just to give you some insight as to where we are and how our brains have changed. So you have a better understanding of what you're dealing with when you're trying to date one of us at this age. And again, for all of the single ladies out there, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club. So glad you tuned in or listened to watch this podcast. Do me a favor, as always, like and subscribe to our Chick2Chick YouTube channel, Chick2Chick USA. That way, every time we come out with a new podcast episode, you will get a little alert on your phone. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day, and we will be back soon with a new podcast episode.